Hello everyone. Sound check, sound check. Can you hear me? Yo. Great. Thank you. I think I have a little low light in the room. Let me see if I can adjust it a little bit. Maybe not. How are we all doing today? Avira TV, Brad Wire, hello, hello. Can we have shipbuilding? We can, and we will later, yes. Doing fine, and you? I'm fine also, thank you. Got a little, I guess, tension headache. Was giving some blood today. Some health status check. I hate needles, even though you don't really feel them, right? But you know, it's this psychology thing, right? This clothing reveal better be some nice flowing wizard robe. You and me, brother. Yeah, you know. It's pretty nasty with those needles going into the veins. Take it slow, Henry. You're not allowed to die. It's illegal in Nave. Indeed. I'm still alive. I'm still alive. Wait 1 second. Okay. Got a little light in the room. Got blinded. How did the PTR test go? It went very well. So we got a lot of feedback, a lot of questionnaire response and so on. So obviously we're very grateful for your participating in those events, because, you know, as we all know, it's very helpful to get as wide view as possible and finding issues, balance issues, bugs and so on within the gigantic TC system that we are about to deliver finally. Looking great today. Thank you very much. Thank you. So yeah, we are of course very happy with all the support we have been given so far by you guys. So thank you for that. Again, we are going through data and we're trying to, you know, put some kind of prioritized order of lists. There's a lot of good feedback as well from you guys that we're looking through to see if that's something suitable or, you know, design wise and so on. So obviously there's quite a few things to go through. But yeah, I mean, as I mentioned in the beginning, when it comes to PTRs, we fully understand that everyone is not, you know, able to spend a lot of time on a test server where things are not really persistent, or, you know, not gonna continue your adventure there. So, but you know, in many cases we do have to check and test, confirm system that are in the normal state because of certain reasons, code-wise, just to make sure things are working, things are stable, and then we try to you know, speed up the process, make it more efficient as possible, so more people can join in without having to feel some kind of farming or grind. Obviously, that's not the main purpose of a PTR server, as you know. But we need to go through some certain stages to make sure that we are set. So we fully understand that we will never have those insane numbers of testers participating in many hours. But again, overall, we are very happy with the result and the test that we have gotten from you guys this far, and it's obviously very, very helpful. Let's see. So, hello, Cubic. The more weapons coming besides stats and claws. There are many weapons to come over time, and that's something you're gonna help us pinpoint and vote for which one you are most interested in. We'll present and talk more about that in a future stream where we'll also present some of the options for you guys, and it's gonna be in many different groups. How did the new server tech go? So we deployed our new systems as mentioned, and we got some issues that we kind of were expecting initially, and the guys got working on that, and I think they solved that also. So yeah, we are good. We are happy with that so far. I want to do a final stress on the server. As you know, a lot of work have been done over the years, and we never gone close to any limits. I know some people may claim that, we haven't worked on a network capacity or solution at all. Obviously, widely speculation grabbed from thin air without being any insight on what's going on. We understand that's the case sometime. We have been working very much on the network since Steam release. And since we have deployed those systems, some of the bigger systems, we haven't been close to any capacity limits whatsoever. What players have experienced, that I also think that people draw the conclusion that the network haven't changed, is because of the node crash that we have had quite frequently, that I also talked about last stream. We identified that node crash, and we have so far fixed it on PTR, thanks to you guys. And obviously that will also go live when TC goes live. But as I mentioned, I do want to do a final big stress test so we can get more accurate performance numbers on pure population. Because on PTR, just having a few hundreds doesn't really push it. I mean, we can see an indication on load and everything, but something scales a little bit different when we're surpassing 2,000 players or so. And I doubt we will ever get 2,000, at least now in this time, on a test server, because majority doesn't simply switch over to a test server. So we are looking to maybe tweak our next step a little bit, just to make sure we can get a little more push on the network part that we have deployed. So we're gonna reveal a little bit how that schedule looks quite soon, so you can so you know what to expect in the next and final mega stress phase, I would say, which is one of the, I would say, missing thing right now. We have pretty good view on TC overall, a lot thanks to you guys. We also got a lot of great feedback on elementalism, some of the spells that we absolutely need to tweak and change a little bit before it's ready as well. I'm not sure if it's possible to gain access to PTR using GeForce Now. I doubt it, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah. Release TC tomorrow, please. Not yet. We are not really there yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. As you all know, we are moving toward the big TC patch, which also includes these two groups of elementalism. A huge update on the network side, and important bugs that we need to have sorted as well along with that patch. But we're getting closer, and we will obviously communicate how those steps are looking at. And then we are moving towards the next biggest step in Mortal's history, I would say, after after that, which is the Epic release, as you know, which includes some very major important updates to the game for everyone. Also, obviously, heavily including focused on new players, which we all know how important it is that we catch them in the game in a good way and bring them into the game in a good way, so we can have a steady flow of a growing population. How many concurrent players do you see on the server supporting? So that's the big question mark, right? We can only speculate in your simulation and scale up, but those numbers are just that, right? When we have the real players pushing a little bit on the boundaries and we can see certain loads move, that's when we can have a more accurate estimate on our total good capacity on the servers. And I want to get close to that number so we have a better view on that in this next big run that we're planning for. So we also know what we can expect with the Epic Game release and have the plan B, be able to scale efficiently based on those numbers. If those numbers varies a lot, then obviously our plan B also needs to be scalable based on those numbers. Game's too good, that's your problem. Come on, OMG. There's plenty of issues we need to sort out, but obviously we are very happy that a lot of people think the game is really good and interesting, unique, exciting, and fun for various things that the game has to offer. Will we see anything about elemental entities anytime soon? So when we had delivered these two groups, which goes into the TC patch, we are planning to deliver the final group, which is the entities. When entities is delivered, we want to do a little session all over the old magic schools to refine them a little bit, tweak some things there before we kind of are happy what we have delivered so far in terms of magic. And then the next step is a community interaction, because again we only have so many coders, right? So we need to make sure that we deliver in various areas and in a certain prioritized order of things where most players want it in the game as well. So it's going to be exciting to go through those groups and areas. It's a very exciting time when it comes to Mortal Online in general, and also for us developers that are very excited for some of those new content coming into the game pretty much. When you show us your dog again, Ariella. My dog is sleeping upstairs, so I won't wake her up right now. But anytime when it's suitable. I missed a few bits and subscriptions here. Bane Spike, thank you for the Prime. Appreciate it. Whoop whoop, 2 years. Holy cow, that is impressive. Time flies. You've been here early on, man. John Oldman with the Prime as well. 50 month. The test window was too short. I tried to play on the weekend, but the test was already over. John Oldman, yeah. We understand that obviously those 3-4 days may not be perfectly suitable for everyone, right? But as I mentioned, we are very, very happy and with all the tests and report we got so far. So I think we got a very good picture now overall. It's not that we are missing something very specific component-wise or feature-wise. We are polishing and tweaking numbers and going through those things that were not so good also, obviously, to make sure those are improved. Can you define community interaction? Of course, diff. So what I mean with that is we're going to present you certain types of groups and options, and we want your inputs to almost like a vote, right? So you point that, okay, when it comes to weapons, armors, gear, player gear, whatever, you may pick what you want to see first. When it comes to overall major features such as ships, boat building, and other features, you may pick which one of those that we should do first. So we're gonna present a few things in a few groups in the game. I mean, this is a large-scale sandbox MMORPG, right? So we're not just gonna present one little area. We want to present in those areas that we think the game needs to expand on. And then we want your input to kind of pinpoint what you are most interested in, so we know that when we deliver these things, most players are also going to be excited for those things. I hope that makes sense, Dipth. Entities are almost certainly the summons. Yeah, so the entities in Elementalism is the Elemental Familiar. If I worded that correctly, the Familiar, which means it's a magical entity based on the elements, which will act like a very specific different pet that is bound to your body, but you can also command it towards another target, such as a friend or an enemy. So it's not the classic pets that we have currently, its own living, with its own entity moving around. You can give it command, you can gear it, mount it, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't move around on its own out in the world. It's always attached to something, and it either adds something negative or positive to that being, pretty much. So I hope that kind of gives a little bit better picture. What happens if you get a 30, 30, 40 split? So we're gonna make it impossible to not, go into those situations. So in one group, for instance, player, how the hell do I call these groups? Combat, for instance. Do we want to see the adrenaline system, or do we want to have a new weapon group or an armor group? That could be a rough example. And you have to pick between those. And if we see that, absolutely majority, 90% are looking for the adrenaline system first, then we'll put that highest on our upcoming roadmap and deliver that. So kind of like that, right? And there will be in a few different groups. We're looking at RP elements, PvE, PvP, and just mainly main features being added to the game. What is adrenaline system really? Tabards, footies needs something new. So the footies obviously will benefit from the adrenaline system. I call it the adrenaline system. I also said special ability moves, right? And I kind of put that in, it goes hand in hand. So it's one kind of system that enables that. So yes, all characters will get new types of special abilities based on the different weapon groups, for instance. So if you are a blade user, swords, you will be able to learn to do very specific cuts that may cause bleed wounds to your targets. There are shield breakers with heavy weapons such as hammers, where you can cleave a shield or bash them back so they drop the shield, and a very powerful counter to shield users, either if it's on the back or in the hand of the users. So we have the axe cleave ability, which means you will cleave through in an arc. Anyone that is standing in that arc may be hit by this cleave, so it's not just one target. So stuff like that give you additional tactics and options. Obviously all footies will benefit from that, no matter what weapon group, including bow users. We wanna, there's been a pretty huge interest in being a classic rogue ranger style, focusing heavier on range weapon and not having to use melee weapons as much. Today that's quite lacking and difficult up close. Obviously melee will always be quite superior, right, naturally, but there's some interesting abilities for the bow users that could give them an edge of being more fully bow users and try to adapt to those tactical options. So yeah, that's kind of what I call with the adrenaline system / special ability moves. Is there any sign of Poleaxe getting some love? Poleaxe is obviously also getting their special abilities, which means they will have very specific performing attacks with their Poleaxe, which is unique to the Poleaxes, right? So yes, absolutely. And there will be more weapons over time, again, depending on when players, demand more of these types. We will try to put them on the roadmap. We have thievery, rogue style, which is one profession that goes a little bit hand in hand, I would say, when it comes to applying poisoning, utilizing poisoning on specific blades, weapons, arrow tips, and so on. Trap usage. And we have the classic snooping thievery. Yes, we have a list of proposed that we think are suitable bounty hunting rewards. Again, we do see that there's a strong point in obviously trying to finalize some of those lacking features we have currently in, which I said before were a little bit of an experiment because we were very unsure if we could have a bounty hunting system working kind of like how it does. Now when we see it kind of works, we just have to refine the options and rules so it's more accessible in an exciting way. And of course, interesting rewards tied to that. So yeah, we have ironed out most of that. And we want to see where that fits in the upcoming roadmap. You will be able to enter the giveaway when I am on that third point on the current topic, and I will inform everyone how to do it and when to do it. King Silver Death, thank you for the prime. Appreciate it. With trinket drop chances be increased, such as topaz and rubers. So yeah, obviously trinkets are one of the current rare to a little bit more common items that you can collect, trade, and refine your characters a little bit further. And we have a lot of plans for expanding additionally in this area. We have different types of clade-inspired trinkets incoming later. We have jeweled crafting that could also affect some of this. And yes, starting with TC, we plan to deploy a few hundreds spawners and some of these values that also obviously drop some of these things spread out on entire Milan. There are certain locations that we have, we see that they're quite empty. We also obviously got feedback from players that these areas are quite empty and boring, lacking. And obviously we're taking note of all of that to make sure that the entire Milan have something of interest spread out for everyone. Also, depending on where you're living, you shouldn't obviously feel like you're lacking a lot or feel that everyone have to move in one direction. That's not the intention. So obviously we want a really good overall balance on Milan. So there's something interesting for everyone, but obviously everything won't be everywhere at all time, as you can understand, but there will be something of interest, value, and different things spread out. And yeah, it's starting a little bit already with TC, and you will also see a huge update on that along with Epic. So the whole will be very much differently be updated along with Epic. So it's going to be a fresh hunt for everyone as well with Epic. Yeah, there are some areas around Medulli that is obviously included in this plan that we're going to cover. So yeah, I guess that covers that. So as I mentioned, we're gonna reveal soon a little bit more details of the next step. I want to rearrange a few things. I just need to confirm a few of the steps with Sebastian, so we are sure of that step and we know that we can cover it in the way we want. But we're gonna announce these details and how we're gonna proceed with those steps sometime soon, maybe next week or so. And then you will see how the final steps are planned. And yeah, then we are, the next natural step is to start deploying TC. There's a lot of important things going in as well. We know that it's been quite a while now since live I've got some updates, and we're very eager to update it as well, because we have some very important fixes that we want live as soon as we can, including the node crash that we have every now and then. You experience it as getting a disconnect and think everything explodes on the server, right? But that is when a node goes down and a backup takes over, and that may result in a disconnect for quite a few players. And that can obviously lead to a very bad situation. So we want to have that update as soon as we can. Also, obviously, but as it looks, we can't just push it right now. We need to do it in a certain step. But I think we have a very good plan, and we are approaching those steps very soon. And yeah, finally soon we can see the real war going down on live, guys. So yeah, it's also been great to see now when the majority that was a little bit confused when we went through the supply siege window system. Now when we got that tested more in depth this last PTR, and people are more aware of how it works and can also monitor and see it, then obviously also people will have a much better way of reacting to sieges, and also prevent ninja sieges to quite a degree, as you understand now with this system in place. Sullivan, absolutely. So obviously, we're fully aware of that running a subscription-based model game, it's absolutely not acceptable to have long downtimes, right? That must be avoided at all costs, and obviously we are making sure we have proper plans for it. There's obviously a few things that we need to iron out and make sure that we cover, such as when the host have certain updates on their server that could affect our uptime. Obviously, we need to make sure that our host have a proper way of communication so we are not catched by surprises. And then, of course, our own network solution, if nodes goes down or anything goes crazy, and that happens during weekends, obviously we need to have a proper solution for that as well. And that is also going hand in hand with the new backend system that I mentioned a little bit before in previous streams that we started to work on a little bit over a month ago, since I think a specific updated backend system that communicates with our servers, which allows us to very much more effectively monitoring everything in one system. And also we could also pass some of this information real time to the community, so you also have eyes on everything, so you don't have to guess or jump on the Discord to see if we have updated things, just to make it more professional and efficient. And this also gives tools to our GM staff members, support members, that can also help with monitoring nodes, starting nodes, if there are any issues on the servers and so on. And those functions will be more secured, because it's quite a complicated system to jump into and fiddle around with, and obviously we can't have anyone guess in the system to wreck up things. So we are building proper tools to make sure that those commands are stable and can handle these things. So yeah, absolutely. These things are being worked on, and they will be put into place and be ready and fully operational for when we are about to start subscription. So yeah, absolutely, we're fully aware of that. And obviously, if things goes against us, if the hosts are having long downtime, longer expected or something like that, then obviously we do our part in compensating you when it comes to subscription time. So that is also why we don't have subscription currently. We need to make sure we cover those things so that you get everything in return. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. You can get crosshair brightness color sliders in settings. Yeah, we want to try to add that. The question is when, but yes, we got a few requests of that, and I think it makes sense. You know, we got a few requests every now and then for color blindness options and such. I haven't really read up on how it works or what that means. I haven't looked how other games does it, but obviously we want to try to support that as well in our game. Please increase the projectile speed for direct damage proportional spells. So there's a few things with those spells. There's a certain limit on speed when a real projectile, how it's calculated between all players on a server. We can't utilize, in some of those cases, too fast speeds. The other setup is to use another function on those specific spells that should be faster. That works another type of projectile calculation, which is more like the arrows that we use today when you use bow and arrow. But we were hoping that we could use the other function first that we now have live. And we haven't got too many that said that the speed is not working at all. They have been underperforming damage-wise and so on. So in the latest patch when it comes to that, we actually bumped them quite a lot. But maybe we are still not really on the sweet spot yet. So obviously we try to follow up a little bit on this along with magic polishing overall. All right, so let's see. Can I ride my armored bear? I can't say exactly when. We're gonna plan a few new type of creatures that you will be able to mount soon. We just need to make sure it works with our current schedule. As you know, the entire team need to be very focused on TC. We need to do that as good as possible. We have some, overall spawners, dynamic spawners, etc. also to add along with that. So, there are more interesting options to gain prominence, find trinkets, and so forth. Yeah, the guild list fixing is absolutely on the list. We are aware of that one. Oh my god. Show the clothes, show the clothes. I'm Ava. Thank you for the prime. Appreciate it. And Mortal Remix. I missed your sub, I think. A month. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah. I think we can proceed on the topic here so we can slowly get going. So maybe we will take a little sneak peek. Shall we take a little sneak peek, guys? Shivanese. Shivanese. Sorry. All right, let me find some clothing. Where the hell are we? All right, so let me first, so this is the thing, right? It's implemented into the crafting system, which means you can put any material you want on it within the soft tissue, right? So I want to show you the model first without any material texture, which means you can see the actual mesh, how it looks. And I think it's really, really cool. It's a really cool style. Again, we're going to have many styles over the years, but we need some to start out with. And the next picture I'm going to show is when we have the basic brown leather. So not very exciting when everything is in brown leather. So you have to imagine the dynamic of the crafting system. You can put silk, you can put whatever, and eventually we'll be able to dye the soft tissues as well. So pick those sneaks. All right, so here comes the gray model pretty much without any resource material or texture on it, just so you can see the actual model. This is it. So this is one of the clothing sets that you will be able to obtain. And obviously we're going to have citizens that also use some of these clothing, because everyone can't just walk around in armors only, right? That looks like armor. I mean, it is. Let me show you the here. So here you can see it in normal brown leather. So yeah, you could call it heavy clothing depending on what material you put into these pieces, right? But this is the light clothing. So obviously minimum impact on your weight, mana management, and so on. So yeah, what's your first view, ladies and gentlemen? Mage focus, killing game. This is a freaking rogue focus. Come on, man. We have rogues and thievery coming next also. Obviously we need something for them, right? Blessed. Looks good. Why so many belts? Looks good. Roguish. I like it. Is it soulbound? Does it have defense? No, it's not soulbound. It's just like any other craftable, and you will be able to pick any material in it, so it can be, you know, have some defense depending on the material you put into it. Looks like a World War I prop plane pilot. Oh my gosh. Yes, more rogue clothes. Going to be not viable. Light armor just doesn't protect enough, and lightweight doesn't matter. Depth. So again, you know, I can see your point looking at the current meta, right? But we have to look a little bit more in the larger picture. We're getting rogue thievery, right? Which this would be optimal for, because you don't want any penalty on moving around. We also have a few magic schools that heavily focus on how light and thin and light geared you are when you want to move around. If you want to blink and stuff like that, just like as an example, you can't have any heavy protection then. But utilizing that light gear, you can also utilize some specific movement skills, abilities that allow you to keep that distance from being killed in close combat. The guy loves belts. That cape part of the clothing or new cape? So all sets usually come with an inspired cape. Let me show you without the cape. So obviously if you just get this clothing set, this is how it looks. And you can use, so this is one of the things that the artists are doing that takes quite effort. Every single piece is combinable with each other's, and it just looks awesome. And eventually we are gonna have hundreds of pieces, hundreds and hundreds, that allows you to do very unique builds. But yeah, as you can see, the difference here on the cape. This is like a, what do we call it? One-sided cape. Pretty cool. I like it. Different from the traditional capes, right? Thieves Guild. Like that side cape. Interesting idea. Yeah, I agree. I think it's cool to have something different from our current capes. Can't wait to see a Thursa squeeze into that. Obviously, those pieces will fit the Thursa, right? It looks like a dishwasher. Come on, pipe. How the hell is this a dishwasher? Very musketeer-like. Yeah, tricorn hat in the future. That cape is freaking cool. Wizard robes would be much better. We are getting more wizard stuff, or you could call them wizard inspired. This is not one of those. We need some non-wizard stuff also, right? We need citizen stuff. Looks like a rapier wearing musketeer. In muskets. This washer. Pirate armor means pirate ships soon. That will depend if the big new next feature the majority wants is ships, then we're gonna focus on ships. But that will be on the upcoming roadmap after Epic Games, right? So that's what I call the community interaction, where we're gonna pinpoint those details. Will look nice in blood silk. Yeah, you have to imagine, you know, whatever you want to put into these pieces. It looks a little boring, obviously, now when everything is in brown. It doesn't give that nice contrast and differences, right? That's why I wanted to show the gray version without anything, so you can just see it's a really nice model. We will announce the next step when it comes to PTR very soon. I think sometime next week, how we plan to do that. We're gonna do a slight change because, as I mentioned before, I want to do a big push on a new network. So we know the numbers, we know the load, and can calculate with that real players, not just simulation and bots and so on, to get as accurate picture as possible, preparing for Epic also. Give us some hats. Yeah, we tried a few hats and they just look so out of place. And this time we are 100% respecting the style of Mortal Online. We want it to be grounded with our lore and universe, so it doesn't go too crazy. But absolutely, we will have more different types of hats. We will try another round on the wizard hats. We have tried, you know, a very much one that we had in the first game, but it looks so out of place. And now when the game is so much more realistic and looks good, and you know, we want to try to respect everything when it comes to the design, lore, and all that. We want to make sure it fits at least. So we need our retake on those, and hopefully we can be happy with that and show you guys. Meta Slave, thank you for donation. Delete tower shields and nerf weak spots. And a new plate armor. So you will decide if we need to add a pack of new sets of armor and what type of armor on upcoming roadmap. So now we have a few of all, right? We cover everything from light to heavy. And then you will help us to pinpoint if, all right, we need these types of medium armor to heavy or whatever you or think should be going into the game soon. You will be able to vote that then, and then we'll choose. So, for instance, I don't think we're gonna be able to work on both a new weapon group and a armor group at the same time. We will focus on one at a time, so we do it quickly, efficiently, put it into the game, and then we move on, right? So you could choose from a weapon group or a armor group, for instance, something like that. So depending on what we want first in the game, I mean, we're gonna work on this for many years to come, right? So obviously we're gonna have all of it a lot over the years, but we are hungry on certain things right now, right? And I think you can help us point those out, right? Definitely more heavy armor since everyone just does Merc and rarely others. Yeah, so maybe that's what you guys are voting on then. New sets of heavy armors. That's up to you guys. We're gonna present the different groups as I mentioned, and you will make it happen. Tabras, please. Yes.
Another one.
Metaslave donated another one. Arena system when? That is one of the options actually. One of the options on the upcoming roadmap. There are many very cool features and content to be added to the game, but we simply can't do all of them simultaneously. And I think rather than us just picking all of it, I think you will do a good job in helping us pick the order of things. I think it makes sense, right? Because now we are so far in various fields that, come on, it's up to you guys to help us choose the upcoming content. Need proper mage armors. So we're talking about some light types here. Henrik likes leather. This is the base when we work on things, right? And then we apply the crafting system, which means it's all materials, right? De Niro with the Prime, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Jingle, no dates for PTR3. As I mentioned, I will try to communicate with some information on the next step. Hopefully sometime next week. But yeah, it's not very far off that one either. Pet breeding is one of the options, Paravixen. I would say that is also tying a little bit with TC content. There are NPC services also that helps with pet breeding. So obviously, I'm not sure yet how many we're gonna present, how long this list is, and then see which one you vote for, which one gets pushed up in the highest prior order of this. We'll pick plenty, at least from various fields, and then we will prioritize something from in every field, right? Jean jackets when? Fur coats when? I'm not sure. Make clothing be like capes. Make them a rare drop and not drop when you die. Clothing? You mean clothing? I mean, there will be a huge profession for making clothing, and eventually we can also have what's it called? Enchantments, which means there are certain powers on the fabrics that can be more powerful on something light rather than steel, for instance. Some steel may not accept certain magical attributes, while a specific fabric type will, which means all of a sudden light clothing and gear could be, you know, equal powerful as a heavy plate, just very in different ways, right? If you see what I mean here. And all of that is craftable, buildable, tradable items, just like everything else, which means they should be droppable then, right? It's strange that the light gear armors are blessed while the heavy ones are not, right? You see what I mean? But yeah, those things will obviously make more use of those sets. So yeah, there's a lot of things coming. So this is one of the challenge with this game, right? There's a lot of things that affect a lot of things over time that makes more content maybe more viable over time, that may be less viable now. So this is one of the big picture in the background that we always have to keep in mind when it comes to balance also. It's very difficult, and we can't just change things that, okay, well, for 6 months from now, we're going to get that enchantment. Therefore, we can't have, we need to have a different type of balance in these types of clothing. We need to respect that setup as well and how it evolves. And it's a challenge. More for archery. Did you miss me when I talked about archery? Effing sicko. I did mention that archery is getting a lot of love and attention, just like the footies, with the new adrenaline / special ability move system. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to vote on that on the upcoming roadmap, or if we just decide that will be one of the focus. Haven't decided on that yet, but it's something that promotes all character more or less. So obviously it's a win-win for every style that have some kind of combat on their character. And plans to increase skill points for skills and professions. Yes, with the veteran system, also plan for somewhere. That one goes also in the same category, I would say. I'm not even sure if that will be a votable thing, because I think most agree that everyone will benefit from a longer character development expansion, right? It's fun, it's great, and it's interesting. So there's a few cases where we think they should be in early on, so maybe not, waste them on votable options. Oh gee, you can go out and play some other games. We don't want you in here. You're too cool, right?
Oh my god. Another one.
Mate Slave, another one. What do you think about tower shields and dagger weak spots? No balance patch coming. So there's a few things that will be happening that I mentioned a bit before when it comes to those shields. For instance, you won't be able to run around on mounts with those. Kind of the same rule with longbows, right? We, as mentioned before, we have data on all craftable items now that we didn't have in the first game. And that kind of data helps us to track them, update them, and remove them depending on what happens in the game, so we have better control. But one thing is missing in this, and that is one system that Sebastian needs to spend some time on before we can utilize these functions and access those items. Like kind of like broken pre-patch items is an example. We have what's necessary this time around, and that's what's important, so we can control that in the future. We just, again, need to prioritize how we spend Sebastian time, because he's the one that needs to build that one part in that system. I also want to comment on one thing on the weak spot things, daggers. I've noticed that heavy daggers that are supposed to or have high base damage are not meant to have high weak spot damage chances also. And that confused me, and I've asked for more information to see what's going on here, because that system is based on the same system as in the first game, but it seems it behaves different in Mortal Kombat 2. So obviously that needs to be investigated. The thing is, you're not supposed to pick the strongest combat raw damage type dagger and at the same time utilize the highest weak spot chance on that setup. You have to go one side of the other, or kind of something in between. That was the design behind it, and that's how it was supposed to be. And now hearing that's not really the case, then obviously we need to investigate why that is, right? So that's an important thing I want to comment to that. With that said, we heard initially that a lot of people thought the daggers were a little bit OP, but slowly that had changed for quite a few of those people that reached out. They said, well, never mind that feedback that I gave. There's some good ways now. We're fine with it. Again, I haven't investigated if that's a general broad view from everyone, but it has stood out from various groups that have initially was quite harsh on that, but then slowly changed over time. So this is also one of the things, right? We don't want to rush to quick jumping the trigger, right? And move back and forth. We did that a lot in the first game, and it was horrible for the players. A lot of people hated it. And a lot of people that didn't make any voice on the community like you do, they just simply moved on to another game because they were tired of playing this game, going back and forth. So we want to respect the players. We want to be very careful. We want to get the proper data. We want to make sure that everyone get plenty of time to go through it and understand it and know all the counter, all the options. And then we have a much better picture of, okay, what may be off, let me see. One moment. Man is ignoring the tabards. No. We have made another flag thing for guilds, and we have also prepared to make different colors. One of the things here that we want to do right I've had some discussions with Sebastian. You know, there may be some option where we can add variation on these to add to the game with TC, but we don't want to do this the wrong way. What I mean with that is that we have certain amount of armor types and flags to add to the game, and we add them as sets, right? That's how we store that system. And that means if we just add 3 new banners, for instance, we occupy 3 slots from entire armors, if you see what I mean here. One set is, you know, free for any item here. So as you can understand, we don't want to waste 3 armor sets because of adding 3 flags of new colors, right? That's the dumb way of doing it. There could be an option where we could do that temporarily and then try to replace that, because the real system, as you all know, for this is the die system will allow you to choose any color, right? So there shouldn't be viable different flags with colors. You choose that, you create that, right? And there will be thousands of variation of color, and you create the color. That's the cool thing, right? So you will have a very custom type of color if you find a very rare type of coloring attribute, right? That's one of the beauty of it. And then there will be a few different types of tabards and flags and so on, both to carry and to put in your city and on your castle and such. So that's the only thing we need to figure out. We don't want to do something bad, obviously, right? And occupy slots. So I need another meeting with Sebastian just to see, is there a way where we could at least give some of the colors for now? And then when we have those other sets, we can make it, you know, offer the real thing, right? And eventually with the die system. Okay, a more reactive environment, for example, step and nettle disappearing when harvested. So we have 2 types of such interactables. One that you do pick up and it removes, as you noticed, and one where it doesn't, like some fruits on the trees. You just pick them and you have to read when it's depleted. Obviously, not as realistic and cool if it doesn't disappear, but these things comes at a cost, and not only on the client, but actually on the network. So there's a certain cost on the network when it comes to those kind of interactables that you pick up and everyone see and it removes. So that's why we kind of have a mix of them, where you got a lot of them that they don't disappear, not as cool and realistic, but quite a huge save on the network side. So it all comes down to that kind of cost, right? And obviously you want to make sure that the main cost is allowed on many players on the server. But yeah, we will see what we may afford moving forward. Alliance chat must be nice. That's a very nice quality of life feature for sure. Just have a separate slot for guild tabard, problem solved, but that extra slot adds a cost to the whole entire system and compete with everything. We have a lot of room for a lot of armor sets and so on, so it's not that we're close to any limitation currently, but again, we want to make sure that we have set up the game for a future where we can add a lot without crumbling down when we hit the wall too early, right? So that's always a little challenge when we add component and feature. Obviously, what kind of impact that has on network, server, main population, and of course, client performance. It's one other thing with a MMO game. Building a single player console game it's a dream heaven when it comes to just forgetting about everything when it comes to performance and network and all of that, which is the biggest challenge in an MMO game. So we always try to be a little bit on the careful side, obviously, when we add a component like this to the game. Jewelry is currently not visible on the players on the hands. No. That was also a discussion we had that, you know, we can make it possible, but it comes at a cost. It's another amount of data that every single character needs to be getting from each other's when you are close to each other's. Obviously, we have some kind of network low LOD system on this, which means you don't have to get that data until you're real close. But obviously, all of these stack up, and when you are fighting close combat and you have tons of people around you, you know, it all adds up, right? Add a little cost, you know, a little hiccup when all of that stats increases. So again, we started in a safe way, making sure that maybe not very necessary currently, and also most people have, you know, gloves on, which means you may not see the rings on the hands, right, until you remove the gloves. So we said the value in return currently doesn't seem to be worth it, and it comes at a network cost no matter what. So we said no for now, but you know, there are endless options, but it all comes down to this overall balance. Ulgrim, thank you for the subscription for month. Did you see the recent study about how 7 out of 10 games will avoid a game due to a toxic community? Community management is so important. I haven't seen a recent study, so I'm not sure which one you referred to, but I'm fully aware of you know, game features and how, you know, depending on how community acts and so on. I know it has an impact for sure when a new player comes around and doesn't have a clue and want to get an insight, and obviously if he gets bullied already there, that's not a very good first experience, right? So that is why we are doing a heavy, very important focus on Epic Games, right? We know what pushes out a lot of new players that seems to be very excited to play this type of game, but they don't really get the chance for certain reasons. And we can absolutely improve those reasons pretty obviously. And that we will do. And of course, you know, we try to engage the, you know, and promote our community to help us build this game, help us grow the game, even though we may want a lot of PvP and kill and fight, we can still promote new players to get into the game to have a chance, or recruit them even, and still have that kind of gameplay, right? So, but obviously there will always be some toxic people out there that are not nice, and they don't want to be nice, and they just want to push people around, and that's rarely a positive experience for any person, right? So obviously we don't support that kind of shit, and we don't want a lot of that in our game. So that's why obviously we need to make sure that we have rules, policies in place where we can try to enforce and improve mechanic and experience in the game as much as possible. So any new player that joins in at least have a fair experience and doesn't get bullied around or insulted or griefed in a way where, you know, breaking rules or so on. Study says why shooting games because of toxic communities, hate and harassment in gaming spaces take a toll on the mental health of the community, by Mohammed Azia. Yeah. I mean, that's not news, right? Like I said, right now, having a very unpleasant experience from someone screaming, yelling, and bawling around, and, you know, being anything but helpful or polite isn't really pleasant, right? That's just human nature. That's not a pleasant experience, and it can be quite opposite if someone just, you know, are somewhat neutral. So obviously we try to do what we can, like I said, to promote proper gameplay, and have proper rules that don't allow for insane stuff to go on, bullying people out of the game. But I mean, at the same time, there's a line, right? It's a harsh game. You can be a thief, you can steal, you can be a murderer. All those components have a part in the game, but there needs to be a balance and promote positive gameplay, so the game and all the players benefit from a growing population, so we can all play our style we prefer. And the game should offer a lot of different areas and styles. So, if someone hates PvP, they may still enjoy it because they may love the exploration, PvE, crafting, trading component of the game, just interacting with other players. Then obviously there should be something that, that's a big part of the game already, right? But we want to make sure that also is rewarded. There's a huge part of that in the game. Heroes and bandits, absolutely. We all can find it's quite enjoyable that, okay, now there's a bastard out here, let's go get him, or a little group fight starts to happen between the bandits and the heroes. That can be a great experience for any new player, as long as it's fair, it's kind of understandable, and they can move away from it and adapt if they really want to just get into the game. I think you know what I mean. And that's lacking quite a bit today in the game. A new player can go straight into a permanent death trap of having griefing, and there's nothing of indication of this. There's no protection whatsoever, and cities are quite unsafe still. Cities will never be perfectly safe, but they will be improved, because we don't mean starting cities to be a place of griefing and pushing out players. New players should be able to get some time and an investment in these areas to give the game a chance. And then obviously, hopefully they will be interested in going more out in the world, more risk reward. And that's also when there will be more risks and conflicts involved with players. It's a big important part, right? We all know that we want Mortal Online to be a true sandbox game. We want it to have full loot, full PvP. But we also need to make sure the game grows and a new player, can accept that starting phase. Again, if a new player that kind of knows what it is and he gets recruited by a cool guild, then it's a done deal, right? Because they will be educated and taken care of and still have a fair chance and get information. But if they start out solo or just two friends starting to play in a game and they run into the wrong squad, wrong location, it could become a very bad experience and they may quit the game quickly. And obviously it's up to us, developers and owner of Mortal Online, to make sure that we give them a fair chance and proper education, proper areas where they can take their time before they're ready for some action, right? Her name is Lilith, not Lilith. Are you talking to me, Effin? Am I mispronouncing anyone in here? When did I even say that? Did I say that? My brain is running empty. Are you ever making an arena system so you can queue up for fair ranked arena fight? Yes, Master. I don't know the exact interest in the community when it comes to how high up we want to put the arena system. I'm quite excited when I think about it, because we have ironed out the general game design for it, and it's really cool. And obviously a great incentive for those that just want to do nice, ranked, fair game fights from solo to squads, and also have a ranking and reward system backing this up. And eventually even the Emperor could once a month, give the the champion of the month, right? And give a title or a specific item, and you know you have a chance every month to defend that title, or someone else may grab it, right? I think there's some really cool content there, and it can also be expanded on where you can bet on fights. You can, you know, make a living on fight. You become a real gladiator, you know. So there's some really cool parts in that system, and I'm quite excited to have it in the game, and I'm excited to watch those ranker leaderboards to see how the different guilds and players performs, and it's cool, right? So the question is only, obviously, does the majority want it now or do we want it later? Again, we can only do so many things per roadmap, right? But it will be there for sure. The question is when. Spartacus. Because yeah, there's a lot of people that obviously want to show the world that they are the best group fighter or PvPer in the world, and the arena may help them to get that title, reward, and claims. Now it's all talk, right? It's all talk until the game confirms it. I mean, I love a nice sign-up team fight. As I mentioned before, I've done that a lot in the Combat Beta. We run outside Fabanum, 2 teams, we picked the teams, and then we fought, and it was very, very fun. I could do that endlessly. Obviously, having proper tools that support that again in Arena, and also showing your track record, giving bonuses, rewards. Really cool. I'm very much looking forward to that. An idea when we are going to get dodging mechanics? No. I mentioned before the challenge around it, and it's a big question mark how it's really going to perform, or if it's going to add an annoyance or confusion, or that we just all have to adapt to that strange mechanic and it works that way. And if it works, the result is decent and good overall, then yeah, maybe that fits. But if it's just annoying and frustrating and not really giving that function that we want with it, then maybe it's not suitable anymore. But as I said, I'm willing to try it. I haven't fully given up on it. So I think it's going to be a good opportunity to put it on PTR when there are some combat focused updates. And then we can see if it works, right? Overlapping allows you to build there. It's only it's up to the players, right? So you can both build there if you are overlapping. One moment here. Right, yeah, maybe it's time to, let's see. Shall we move over to this little baby? All right, let's start to sign up. Explanation mark MO2. And you are in. Oh my god, another one, eh? Another one. Rickers or Rickers. Thank you for the prime. Appreciate it, appreciate it. Let's push it to the limits, people. Let's push it. Let's go. Yeah, we're gonna update the bounties with some, along with rewards, we're gonna also update the rules, how to get them, and so on, to make it a little bit more flexible. Absolutely. We are fully aware of those strict rules that are a little bit, you know. Follow up and exclamation mark ammo 2, and you may win a copy of Mortal 2. When will Rise Unknown be implemented? So we have quite a lot of plans in the near future when it comes to invasion system, as we mentioned a little bit before. And of course, even more down the road, we also have a continent where the homes of the Risers are. And we have more content tied to the Rise Unknown function, both in part of invasion and in their homelands. So yeah, it has some dependencies, but we wanted it to be in the game now. So it's ready and supporting that function already. It's just that we need a little bit more content-wise also to more fully promote it and have the bonus for it, right? No new content for murders. I mean, Yontek, come on, man. Everyone is murderers. There's already plenty of content murdering innocents and anyone in the world, anywhere, in any dungeon, every time, everywhere, right? That's a common thing. So I don't think there's a lack of murdering. It's already happening non-stop everywhere. But as I mentioned, there will be specific functions and features that promotes specific styles, assassination styles, also along with rogue skills. Tiny Dagger is the highest DPS weapon in the game. Use them in PvE and see for yourself. Yeah, as I mentioned, I want to have full insight in the dagger thing just to make sure is it correct? Does it follow the design? Because what I hear and so far got presented, there seems to be a little bit off of what it's intended to be. So let's give it a moment before we pull the lottery. Today is the day. Maybe it is. 100% faith in the MO team. We will absolutely get there. Can a server handle 2K players now? Yes, it have been able to handle that for a year ago. We are way past our old numbers. As I mentioned before, we've done a lot of work. One of the biggest work constant in the background have been on a network servers. We're not even remotely close to any capacity limits. And as I mentioned, our next step is where I plan to push our server limits to be able to get new raw real data based on players rather than our simulations we have currently. Yeah, we're not close to anything. Like I said, our load on the servers are around 1 to maximum 2 milliseconds. And that's insanely fast. It's like nothing. There's nothing happening. There's no load whatsoever. So yeah, it's been hugely optimized, and I can't even say where the capacity is today, but hopefully based on our next test, we're gonna do a specific test. Hopefully we have a more accurate numbers where we estimate it to be currently, and that will help us to plan the epic step also. What are the rewards from giveaway? It's a copy of Mortal 2, Nezu. O2JJ, thank you for the subscription. 8 months. So excited about the future of the game. It took me this long to comprehend your vision. You and your team keep up the great work. Thank you very much, JJ. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it here at Star Vault. Can you explain for us when to use DX11 or 12MY? In general, if you have a new computer, you should always use DirectX 12. If you have very specific issues, problem with your computer, old computer or whatever, you may benefit slightly from DirectX 11 in some cases. But in general, I would suggest 12. We just have it as a fail-safe backwards compatibility if necessary, pretty much. Every time the server get even close to 2,000 players, the server not crash all over the map. No, so I explain a little bit what happens and what this means. And it's absolutely not a capacity reaching any high load or hitting the cap roof. I also understand why someone would draw that conclusion. The more players we have online, the more frequent an error happens that we have still live. We know what happens and how it happens. If there are 100 players online, this still happens, but extremely few cases. If we have 1,000 players online, it happens obviously 1,000 times faster. If we have 2,000, it happens 2,000 times faster. That is why these node crashes happens more frequently. We have more players. That is not due to a capacity issue or a load issue. It's due to a bug in the codes that we have identified and we have fixed on PTR. We couldn't just lift that in now, so we have to remain a little bit still until we update live. And with that said, we have a backup system that's supposed to keep looping and refresh that killed node, but we have another bug in the backup system. When we have had too many of those, it goes wrong and doesn't start the backup system correctly, and that could lead to a major server issue that we had 2 times now. We have gone over that, gone through that to prevent it from happening again until we wait for the actual server update that are supposed to fix this specific node crash. So that has nothing to do with main capacity or stress or load. And we already, I can tell you, we've been well beyond 2,000 players without any load or crashes or issues. But this frequent issue that happens more frequent the more players there are. Does it make sense what I'm trying to explain? Capacity is higher than the server. Have gotten simply to do them crashing in the code. Servers, however, do lag once we get 2K players in some places. So we can see if the server lags, right? And as I said before, as long as we don't have any node crashes, there are no server lags because there's no strain or load, there's no capacity issues. With that said, there's always a client side when it comes to how much of network data and packages everyone can receive quickly. This is obviously also something we always try to optimize to make sure that even though you may have less capacity on your bandwidth, you should still have, specific updates on the network that allows you to play around with without any lag. But obviously there's always that component, right? If you are running on a bad connection, packet losses or whatever, you may experience some lag, even though the server isn't lagging. There can be routing issues from a continent or specific IPS that have currently issues, and that could cause major area lag issues as well. So what's important is that we're always monitoring our end. So if there's anything lagging or our end or stacking up or hitting the cap, that's when we identify, here's a bottle cap. This is something to work with. We have not received any of these bottle caps since our latest network updates that we did quite a few months ago on live. And since then we have never got any load. So again, we have the node issues. When a node crashes, you experience lag, and you can also experience a disconnect. And then after a few minutes, you can log in and play as usual. So again, I tried to explain this technical step as well, what's happened on the server side. The good news is that Sebastian is quite confident it has been fixed now for PTR. So as soon as we push that live, we shouldn't have this node crash anymore. Other plans for CPU optimization? Yes, we're doing huge work within Unreal Engine 5 when it comes to optimizing the game for Mortal Kombat 2. So yeah, obviously our goal is to make sure that we push the performance as far as we possibly can with the time we have. So you should absolutely see a nice gain when we deploy those steps. During PTR, I know there's a lack of supply towers near the west coast. Are they going to remain the same or possibly be spread out a little better? I think there are 20 or 20 something, 20 additional towers that are going to be placed. And that's what the plan is. There are some areas in the world where we don't want the towers for certain reasons, which you will find out why when we deploy Epic Games patch. But there should be plenty now with these additional 20 towers that there's always some to find and go for, right? You say you do a lot around optimization and OS development, but we see no new content and no increased performance. Can we believe what is being said? So we haven't pushed it live yet. So, depending on what we're talking about, the node crash that I'm talking about when it comes to server side, that's not live. So we still have that node crash. And when that happens, you may experience lag and disconnects. And we're monitoring that now very closely until we can deploy that fix. We can't just deploy some things in a whole system. They tie together, so that makes it a little bit complicated. That's why we have a little bit longer update on the server now with the new content. We need to deliver specific content packs that is connecting to each other. So we can't just deploy one part of that, then everything explodes. And when it comes to raw client performance, as I mentioned, that's coming with Unreal Engine 5. So that's not live. And obviously you will have to experience that when we push that live, right? So I can only tell you what we're doing, what we have been doing. And also during the past year, we have done a lot of client performance updates, which the players have confirmed. We have improved a lot of areas. We have improved some of the big chunks when you run around houses, when things loaded in a poor way and made your computer freeze when you run into a house. That doesn't happen anymore. It's more fluid. We have optimized the character being from 400 character on screen, giving you 2 FPS to around 15 FPS to 20 FPS. We have a world record when it comes to most simultaneously high detailed characters on your screen at the same time with perfect lag, perfect load on the network without any lags, and somewhat okay FPS. We are not done yet when it comes to large scale optimization on characters, but the majority that has been there in those battles to confirm the network reached out to us in a overwhelmingly positively an amount of feedback saying, holy shit, you freaking did it. Holy foe, you fucking did it. 400 players, not a single lag for everyone involved in that battle. FPS, not so good, expected to be not so good at that point, but still 10 times better than most other MMOs. So, you know, hearing this from the community, having that data, you can experience that for yourself, I think speaks for itself. With that said, we're not done. We're gonna optimize the client and the network even further. The latest, biggest update on the network isn't live yet. It was only on the latest PTR. So, you know, I can only point on these things that the community have helped us confirming and showing. And, you know, the rest have to speak for itself, right? So I hope that kind of makes sense. Drop the F-bombs. A particular reason why I'm a recount to Bunt Hunt, you know, there will be some restriction for those that choose to be the murderous route. There will be consequences and penalties, and there may be not features that they may not be able to tap into. Then there are obviously things for the other side, right? So it depends all on that. You know, if you want to be a famous bounty hunter, then obviously you have to be strict from killing other players. So it all depends on what you're looking for, right? Yeah, I'm not really sure of the purpose anymore, or if it's indeed Ogmer or someone, GLHZ. You keep bringing up things that I respond to, and some of them are, you know, I mean, I cannot say that this is the facts other than pointing on what's happened in the game. And Cone probed corrupt GM, showing us evidence. I've said many times, I would love to see the evidence of this, because we are extremely keen on making sure that all of our staff members follow the rules. Everything is logged, and we have regular meetings to make sure that everything is correct. And also, there are no reason for any GM to act corrupt, because they have no relation, no involvement, and they don't have a clue who you are in the game. And that's how it's supposed to be. They're external, professional, hired GMs. They don't give a fuck about who you are, what you're doing. The only thing they are very keen on is making sure do you follow the rules, and what are the GM's rules and protocol to follow to assist the game. With that said, we have said also many times that we do have issues when it comes to a lot of our GM's tools. We lack some of the insight and tools to give them the opportunity to properly help our players. And that is obviously on us. That's our fault, the developers. But we are working on that. As I mentioned before, we hired an external engineering team to build that backend system for us to improve in those areas where we lack. So I hope that makes sense. Is there anything else you hate that you want to find and point out for everyone in here that I can respond on? Sounds like, yeah. Is it Ogmir? Oh my God.
Another one.
What do you claim? GMs have a 24-hour response time when I've had multiple issues take weeks. So we have GMs 24-hour, Monday to Sunday. They are hired to cover all the hours. And if depending on what it is in the game, the more junior GMs may not be able to solve all things, then they escalate it to a higher GM. And if the higher GM don't have any tools or insight or knowledge enough, they bring it to the developer team, and they have to give some input or, you know, try to come up with a solution or response or whatever that may be. So depending on this, obviously you should always get a response. That's one of the rules for our GMs when it comes to same as support tickets on a website. So as I said, depending on what happened, we are always follow up on those things. We're spent on bear armor being released. I can't say exactly when it comes to bear armors and any of the upcoming pet armors and when they will be mountable. There will be chunks of them going into any upcoming patches. I can't be much more detailed right now. Right, shall we roll the dice, guys? Is it time? I'm getting close to the 2-hour mark today. Oh my god, another one. Yeah, so if their experience outcome of things are different and it feel unfair when it comes to GM interaction, then again, that is something on us we have failed on. We lack guidelines, rule set for them, documents, and system to allow them to do those things correctly. Obviously, it's very important that all experience you have with our GMs should be always professional, and it should always be the same outcome. Obviously, it shouldn't be that it feels like a lottery if someone's going to help you and someone else never helps you. If that's the case, then obviously we have failed when it comes to education and giving them the proper guidelines and tools to be able to support. And this is something we're going through right now. As I mentioned, we are building a backend system that covers all of the GM interaction and all their tools. So it's very important for me personally, and of course the entire project, that this gets to a very good state for Epic Games to make sure that any GM interaction should obviously be professional, and the outcome should always be the same, which are the rules we set up internally and then give to the GMs, and also work along with the GMs. Shall we roll it, guys? Is it time? I think so. Oh my god. Oh my god! Another one? How is the arena season going to be? Separate server? Also only 1 versus 1, or more like 2 versus 2? So there's a lot of things. I don't know if it's gonna have everything included in one big chunk, or if we want to split it up in 2 or so chunks. But in general, the first step would be that there's a ladder ranked system that tracks all the progression within the sign up rule. So if you go to a arena master, or whatever we're gonna call that function or NPC, you will be able to set up the terms and the teams. And depending on those rules and setups, you will have options such as 1 versus 1 up to, I don't know, again, we want your inputs. Do we want to have the maximum size to be 40 versus 40 or 30 versus 30? Whatever you want there as the maximum. And then you will be able to set some specific rules when it comes to maybe gear. And also if you want to have some stake on it. And we're going to track all the stats, and there's going to be a ranking system for it, where you can also sign up for any opponents, and anyone that signs up for that challenge, we have a fight. And then we're also planning to host regularly, monthly or weekly signups for anyone that want to participate. And then there will be specific titles and rewards. And like I mentioned, even the Emperor may give you a certain reward once a month, and you can try to uphold that winner strike. So there's a few things, a lot of options that we want to add here. And those that are interested in signing up for such fights will obviously be able to enjoy this system. And those that think arenas are stupid, like WoW crap, will obviously not participate in this and go out in the world and do real life action instead. That's the beautiful thing with a sandbox. There are gonna be hundreds of features. Some people may like some of them and not like some of them, and that's the beauty. Then you don't do them. It's so beautiful. Will any consideration be made on sub prices for people who bought multiple accounts before subs got enabled? For example, reducing the price of subbing additional accounts owned by the same person. I'm not sure about that. So we talked about these things many times, right? When it comes to one character system, diva system, subscription, and so on. And we're gonna start out with the current plan and system, which is one character, and that you will be able to sign up for 1, 3, 6, and I think maybe even 1 year sign up. So if you are a long-term player, you can pick the big package and get a huge discount along with that. To tag accounts and identify them, etc., is a whole other ballpark that, you know, we haven't looked into at all. So yeah, that's currently what we're looking at. Please make 5 vs 5 possibility with pets not allowed. Yeah, that's going to be an option for sure. Any news on crime system rework so players that aren't in circles can't play the game? The crime system will not just prevent a Zerg from not being able to hit a smaller group of players. It's just simply not possible, right? But there will be a revamp, a big update on the criminal system, security system, along with starting areas, starting cities for new players, especially out to no man's land where there are no flagging rules whatsoever. I played MO1 for 2 hours, but none in MO2, so it's time to get into Borderlands 2 then. Devonice. Borderlands 2 is heavily improved in all possible ways. Right, let's roll it. We're hitting the 2-hour mark. Yeah, it's a cool cape. I like it too. Side cape. Right, where is the roller? Right, good luck, everyone. Here goes. Let's go. Congratulations, Night Pass. Congratulations, Night Pass. Let's see if he's here. Rigged. Jeff the Dumpster. You are a little rigged dumpster. You're in here. Wanna win the game. And then you trash talk the game, right? You have to make up your mind. Do you want to play the game? Do you want people to play the game? Or what the hell is going on? Night Pass, are you here? How far along is the arena system? Currently, it's not being developed on. It's just mapped out design-wise. I want input from the player base on upcoming roadmap. When is it suitable to add the arena system? Just like you saw here a few minutes ago, someone doesn't like the arena system, someone really wants the arena system. So I want your input to see if a lot of people are looking forward to it now rather than later, right? So we really focus on the correct things in the upcoming roadmap. I want the coming roadmap, every single patch there are going to be golden for everyone, as many as possible at least. Great, Night Pass is here. Let me grab that key. One moment. Damn it! Holy cow! I apologize when I say this, but you are blind to the core. If that's what you think, because holy shit, that's unbelievable and impossible at the same time. But you're allowed for your own thoughts, and I respect that thoughts, but I have to say that with an apology next to it at the same time. Sorry. Right, let's see here. There are Nave. Congratulations. And how long have you been playing Mortal, or have you, or from what era? Mortal 1 or 2 or what? I'm always curious. I can't say exactly currently how far away TC is. It's not that far away. That's the only thing I can say. We have a very specific list of things and fixes we need to focus on. And when that's done, we will present the patch. We'll announce it a little bit earlier when we know we have those important requirements fixed. Cool, Naipas. Cool. Another giveaway. No, the Lord Bar. I'm afraid we have to keep them one at a time. Any feedback on the network code that was tested for PTR2? Yes, absolutely. We made good progression. Thanks to you guys again. The next step I want to test is large-scale stress on it, because now when we have it stable running, we want to make calculation on larger scales. And we need to do that in a very specific way, and we will update you guys on how that plan is looking. Maybe next week or so, we plan to update that. I was asking for the arena system 2 years ago, and 2 people on 1 mount 9 years ago. Hours on us. It's cool, right? We're getting halfway there then. I mean, we already surpassed Mortal 1 in features. We are and complexity in many ways, and things that we never could do in the first game. So it's exciting time now when we finally get the big chunks in place, starting with TC. And then we got Epic, which means we've greatly surpassed it in every single field. And after that, we get to some real golden gems that we never got to, or again, couldn't do in the first game. So it's a very exciting time for Mortal Online and also us developers, because finally, after all these years, we get to do some really exciting stuff that we couldn't before. So yeah, it's really cool. Can we have it like other PTRs in other MMOs, that is downloads as a second game? It's a pain to download and remove, and download normal game later. So there's 2 options, right? You can patch it back and forth, very simple, or you can just copy your current data and have it separate. But that requires manual copying. And that concludes the giveaway, ladies and gentlemen. Which means we are on the ending note. Wanna buy a snooping patch? Indeed, we're getting there, Model 1 wasn't problem free, but it was more balanced and better. With all respect, you are 100% wrong. Mortal 1 was extremely unbalanced compared to Mortal 2 in so many ways and cases. First of all, it was pretty much, the traditional great sword online and the Thurker build. That's it. Couldn't do anything more. There was only those 2 builds as a main meta and no other options. The network was about 800 ms worse at all times as a base cost, which means you already lived twice the distance in Austria to the server as a base cost, and then your distance. That's why no new player would accept the 10-20 meters hits. You had to do the prediction combat because you couldn't do anything more than that. So it had very severe issues that we couldn't improve with the technology we had. And that's also why no new player would ever accept it. When they tried it the first time, they said, what the hell is this? And they quit the game. We couldn't ever grow at all. Mortal 2 shows the opposite, right? Starting with the stress test, we got thousands of players, overwhelmingly positive. And, we see all races being used that we never saw in the first game. We see multiple weapon types being used, which we never saw in the first game. Speed was king, so you didn't have any options. So it's without a doubt, it's just foolish to say something else. We all know that played the first game. So Multiline 2 is extremely much more balanced in all ways. And with that said, it's not perfectly balanced, and it will most likely never be perfectly balanced. I want to add that also. I'm fully aware of that there are many different players that will think very differently when it comes to balance. And, everyone won't agree in those terms. I'm fully aware of that also. But yeah, it's like just asking Sebastian, stating that, he just laughs and think, stop being silly. I mean, there's so many core parts of the system that it's not at all acceptable today. Not a single player would accept it, sadly. So it runs on nostalgia. Back then, it was cool for what it was. It was impressive for what it was. And when we grew up with it, we got to adapt to it and could enjoy it. But after a few years, not a single new player would accept any of that and point it out like, are you stupid? What's going on? Those players and new players today are showing up in Multiline 2 and can appreciate the game much better, get into it much better, and see variation and do more what they want. And the performance and network, everything works about 1,000 times better. We went from 800 milliseconds on a core tick on the server down to 2 milliseconds or even 1 millisecond, which is insane difference. And then we can add the distance calculation. We have, people from Australia, the other side of America. We have far distance countries that can actually participate in combat today, which they never could in the first game. So, we can go on for a few days just pointing out system that was core flawed issues that could never be improved due to limitations in technology. And that, it wouldn't be able to grow out of that foundation. Multiline 2 foundation, we can grow into infinity. So it's a very exciting future for Multiline 2 and new players. Talking about PvP balance, MO2 super unbalanced. It's still more balanced than Multiline 1 because, like I said, you had 2 options in the first game. 2 options. In Multiline 2, you have infinite of options. It depends on where you are, how you play, what group, what the hell you're doing. In every single battle PvP video I see being posted, looks like a freaking movie. Really cool. You see variation of combat, clades, races, teamwork, magic, all builds. And if that wasn't the case, if you had worse balance, you would see one build, period. Nothing else, just like it was in the first game. All veterans knows this and they agree that it's just silly. Henrik, stop commenting on it because we all know Multiline 2 is obviously improved because we have, fixed those issues. But again, it doesn't matter what I say if someone has set their own mind and think differently, and then that's true to them, right? Those are useless in large scale. They are very much used still though, which means, and by very good PvP players. So, but yeah, like I said, we will never have perfect balance because what the hell is perfect balance? We can't make a list together and make a perfect balance list because no one agrees. That's the challenge, right? So yeah, I mean, like I said, we will never be perfectly happy with perfect balance because there's no such things. You can't even find a perfect balance game today in a sandbox MMORPG game that are not kind of main goal to have a PvP focused perfect balance like StarCraft focus. It will never be that, right? You will have more and more options, cool tactics and skilled gameplay to choose from. And you can adapt and be superior in the game in various ways depending on where you're fighting in the game. That's also one of the beauty. There will be so many different types of combat sessions where you outperform your enemies. You have the high ground, you have the choke points, you have the you have the knowledge and advantages. And then if you're got hijacked by enemies in the wrong location, you may suffer greatly. That's part of the game. It's one of the beauty of the game when those things happen, spectacularly so. But it's also difficult to understand that the game can't be perfectly balanced. I mean, just talk to your enemies, for instance, that you battle, and it's very hard to agree on many things. There may be a few things, but wow, the battle is real when it comes to how things should be tweaked. So what we learn is to make sure that we don't push out player by doing crazy back and forth steps. That we learned also the hard way, especially in Morton 1. So we're very careful. There's a lot of cool things and content to be added, and there will be many different options and styles and tactics for everyone to enjoy. User not found us for sure. Yeah, I think we have 2 cases of that beetle, which is insane. And I think we tied one down to being the on that computer only. So when that user changed the computer, it works, which means it's on the user end, it's on the computer. And that means there's nothing Sebastian can do in that case, unfortunately. And it's very hard for us to know why that happens on someone's computer. Beetle. We really want to obviously solve it, but if Sebastian has nothing to work with, and if you choose another computer and it works, that kind of tells us something is going on that computer, right? And that makes it difficult for us to assist further. As I said, we are very keen on making sure that everyone can access the game as they should. Yeah, now it affects both of my computers. Now, only thing I haven't done is reformat, replace hard disk, which some people claim works. Yeah, shit. I really feel for you, man. Like I said, we really want to solve those issues that are extremely rare and specific. We will love to have that knowledge. So if someone else also experienced that, obviously we can assist, right? But like I said, the problem is, even though I poke Sebastian once a week, he falls back on the same. I mean, I'm sorry. There's nothing, no data. There's nothing I can help with. And 99.999% of the players, it just works. So there's something very specific, I'm afraid, that sucks as hell. And like I said, we are very keen on assisting or solving it or having information. The problem is, how do we figure it out, right? And of course, if you do manage to pinpoint it down on something in the computer, we will love to have the information as well from you, so we can try to make it known if anyone else also have it. There are plans for craftable arrows. Yes, fletching is planned for. Again, I don't know in what patch. Maybe something to do with data stored in the app data folder. Like I said, we talked to Sebastian, right? The grandpa master of all of this, and when he's running out of ideas, it's problematic, right? And the problem is, it's not a large-scale issue within the community, because obviously then it will be easier also to pinpoint with more data. If we have one case, it's very difficult when there's nothing we can see on our end, and there's no data, that we can read that could help pinpoint it. So it's one of those nasty ones, right? That is difficult to handle. Lawless zones are coming. Yes, that's a nullsec no man's land out in the wild. We will go from high sec, kind of like even line, right? High sec 1.0 to 0 nullsec. Heavily guarded protection in cities, all the starting locations, and also a fortress patrolling guards in some of the areas surrounding those cities. and then it goes out to no man's land where the nations are not active, which means there are no murder reports flagging out there. No, those zones are coming with Epic. It's the entire update to the criminal system, security system, starting areas, newbie, experience, focus, and no man's land. There's still many undiscovered crafts, right? I mean, I don't remember exact millions. I think we're around 47 million of combinations. Obviously, players haven't scratched even 2% of that. Obviously, a lot of them may not be effective, and a lot of good players find efficient, solid builds that they have been, experimenting even since the first game, and they stick to that, right? But in some areas, we see new recipes arriving every now and then, and also even new metas being created every now and then. Well, it would be a better game if it was a season-based game. No. We're not making a season-based game. That's not at all. That's something completely different. Mortal 9 is persistent and we run for 20 plus years at least. Much longer than the first game. And it will keep on getting better, more features. Expanding everything, more exciting for everyone. And, more playstyles for everyone. It will be the best sandbox MMO game in all time, eventually. That is the goal. And we have set our damn minds to make it happen. And we are walking that path currently. We will lose the entire core if we change the entire game to be a season-based or something like that. It's not really a season game. Here! Why don't add regular server downtime in fixed time to have fresh, stable server every day? We don't need it every day. We have it once a week or twice a week now until we can deploy the new network patch that should fix the node issue we have currently. And after that, in place with the infinite backup system, we will see, if it's still enough just to have once a week or even less. Obviously good to refresh it every now and then, so once a week should be pretty good. Yeah, the nations are still operational, including over Kranish, Rundak. That's why they can report you. As I mentioned, there will be updates to the system with the Epic content. Will you still do developer QA in 20 years? That's a good question. Will be live. That's a good question. I will be an old man then. So maybe I have to, pass on the stick to someone else. I don't know. I can't tell that far off. But I will be here in this background. That's for sure. In one way or another. That's for sure. This is my baby. And it's growing up. It's not even a teenager yet. The game is not dying, it's actually growing, Run Cry. So you first need to analyze the facts a little bit better before you make a claim that is completely the opposite of the facts. Because how do we all respond to something that are already wrong, right? We have been growing quite steadily since, I don't remember, was it before Christmas? Even in downtime, even without marketing, even in vacation times, we are higher than regular in vacation time. We have had some downtime that messes up the average stats on the Steam chart, if that's what you're looking at. It also doesn't show everyone. So we already, again, much extremely higher population than the first game, obviously because it's a much improved game that new player accept in a good way. And we haven't really started yet. That's the thing. A big step starts with TC, and the big step for the world starts with Epic Game Release. That's when we're gonna open up the gate, when it will be new player friendly. New player rates should significantly increase. And we also start marketing again. When we did very little marketing with the stress test, we grew by a few thousand %. And we were overwhelmed with the positive overflow of new players that really loved it. We paused all of that when we run into major issues with the Steam release. And we're gonna pick it up again with the Epic Game release and hopefully grow even more, obviously. Logic and data and, just following history, what happened. But yeah, everyone are entitled to play their own game. Multiline 2 is here and will be here for a long time. And then it's up to the player to enjoy it or not. And obviously, this is not a game for everyone. We fully understand that, right? But there's a huge player base out there that will pick up this game. We noticed that in the stress test. A lot of people came from World of Warcraft, surprisingly. Rust, Tarkov, those games was not as surprisingly that they really enjoyed the game. So Valheim, there's a lot of games that players that feel instantly at home in this game, and they love it because holy shit, it's an MMO game on top of all that. So there's a few millions players out there in those games, put together that really enjoy parts of Mortal Lion, and the majority of those haven't heard about Mortal Lion 2 yet. I mean, heck, even Asmongold and Lyric picked it up when we did a little push during the stress test, and everyone was overwhelmed, and Lyric was super entertained and really enjoyed the game. And he's back for Epic Game release, and we have a few other, hopefully Shroud, and those players that really enjoy these type of games. They enjoy Ultima Line and such, Darkfall and such. They will feel quite at home, I think, in Mortal Lion 2. And obviously, if they pick it up, they already have it bought and installed, but they didn't want to play it when it was in a bad state. And we're happy for that. And we said, let's let it be until we're ready. And that's planned for with Epic Games. And hopefully then they will be able to give it a shot and enjoy the game. And that could bring us a lot of people and attention again. How's that, TV? I don't get offended by anyone's opinion because I know everyone have different opinions, right? And everyone is obviously allowed to state those opinions. But a lot of the things can be fact-checked. I'm not talking about Facebook fact-checking, but you can see some of the stats and indication yourself and compare with older time and see some indication that gives you some information, right? That's all. But we didn't expect to grow this much without hitting TC and Epic. And that's a positive thing, right? Especially during vacation times, which usually have a little bit less players around. Growing numbers aren't just multiple account users. No, I mean, it's not that you're playing more and more accounts simultaneously, right? We can see unique users on a weekly basis in Steam data. So we have a pretty good view on direction and active players per week. Star Wars Galaxies was a really nice game indeed. And those players feels instantly at home in Mortal Lion. Dark Age of Camelot, also a pretty good game. Absolutely. What will you do if there's more than 10k players that want to log in? Then we will scale up to allow them to play. Darkfall was fun, Mortal is better though. I agree. I'm a little bit biased though. Asmon's editor is going to have a field day if Asmon comes back for Epic LOL. A lot of thanks for this game. When is the Necromancy rework? Elementalism, very cool, but Necro so-so. When Elementalism is fully delivered, we're gonna do a little work on Necro, Spiritism, and Ecumenical before we move forward. Put a few 5-star review out for the game. There needs to be like 6 trailers, 1 for straight action, then 1 for adventure. etc. pulled from all crowds. I found this game by luck, and thank goodness I did. Teen Tonic. You're correct. We are not doing any marketing whatsoever, which obviously also means less people will find it that doesn't have a clue about the game existence. But we also do that purposely right now because there are certain things we want to deliver before we invite everyone to try it out. You know, we can see some reviews in Steam, rightfully so, where we have made mistakes, messed up, and where a lot of the feedback is they just feel grief, they don't know what to do, they're lost, and give it a bad review. And rightfully so, right? That's their experience. And we need to take responsibility and fix that, work with that, and hopefully, you know, we put it in a good state where more players can get into it and enjoy it. EverQuest? Yeah, I played UO during that whole era for about 11 years. You have already had this player count and didn't scale up. So we did scale up, but too late, right? And the network solution wasn't ready for, you know, an acceptable amount of players that we have expected in Simulator first. Things scaled in a way where we didn't expect with real players compared to our simulations and bots and so on. So that's one of our biggest mistakes, right? And we try to be open with that entire step, what we need to do, and, you know, the time and patience and effort we need to put into it to get back on track. So yeah, absolutely. But now our capacity is much, much greater than before. And hopefully we'll find out the magical number on our next test phase we're going to do to run some tests based on the new network. And that will allow, you know, tell us what kind of server setup we need to have ready to support such numbers during Epic Game release. Trius, Target Camelot. Don't think I'll play it again, so I'm glad MO2 is here at least to fill the void. I'm happy to hear that, Avernon. I'm happy to hear that. I played Dark of Camelot a bit, not too much. There were some things I liked with it, and of course I played with a few friends, which obviously make these types of game a lot more fun, right? So yeah, that was a pretty good game, I think, personally. But like I said, I didn't play that as much as I did in UO and then Star Wars Galaxies. PlanetSide, believe it or not, and some Anarchy Online, believe it or not, also. And then I tried all MMOs briefly. And content like Champion Spawns from Ultima Online. We have, obviously, like I said, very inspired from that game. And we have some cool features that are taking some stuff from that game and other games that we will add eventually. We have an invasion system and also like step into enemy invasions and steal something of highly value from their homelands and bring it to your TC base, which could promote a certain attack against you and your base, which also, you know, kind of like a champion event, but in a quite different way, as you can imagine. Yeah, there's a lot on upcoming roadmaps that give us stuff that touches those areas. Damn it. No, that's not very accurate. We have a lot of really good insight data from Steam and our servers when it comes to unique users. Absolutely, the veterans do use more than one accounts, but they are minority compared to our common player in the game. Believe it or not, the common player that are active playing weekly basis, shown up in stats data, that only uses one account are the majority. Believe it or not, they are the majority of our players. They haven't got to more accounts at this point. And then we have, like I said, those that are a little bit more hardcore, more into it. They want to do more things quickly in their own way. They have purchased or got additional accounts. But we can keep, obviously we can identify the differences, right? What is scale up? We scale up the hardware and server setup, if that's what you're referring to. Henrik, I hear you compare your baby MO2 to other older games. Seem like you're stuck in the past instead of adapting to new generation. Younger generation will keep your game alive instead of living in the 90s and early 2000s. Hustler TV. So obviously, you know, a good statement, and I agree to that. So one thing, right? Obviously, I don't build this game only to fit all my needs, all my styles, and only what I want, because that's not my main goal. My main goal is to build, like I said, hopefully one of the best sandbox MMO in all time. Very believable, first person only, unique in its own way, our own path, our own red line. But I'm very inspired by those olden gems that really kicked something uniquely off, that was then quickly changed in a more modern game, or like World of Warcraft. That this is the thing that I'm a little passionate about. So when World of Warcraft released, a huge company, all resource involved, a proper payment solution, the new generation and players were ready to play that kind of game, and they made a MMO that they felt was, World of Warcraft, their theme and their way. They weren't really UO players. They didn't know what that could be, so they just went their own way, which was right for them, and it was a very much success, as we all know. And that kind of created MMO players, right? With that said, over the years, there came more MMOs. Very much majority was clones of WoW, because they wanted to make it even better, right? And take from that cake. Over the time, a lot of people got a little bit tired. They went on autopilot. And, there was quite a few 100,000 players from those old gems, Ultima Line, Star Wars Galaxies, close to 1 million in total, that would love to have that kind of game. And they were so sad to see, what the hell? We're on year 2000. There is not a single MMO that offer this type of experience that I want. And they're right. I'm one of them. And I think that's quite sad and crazy that there are not more options for us than WoW and WoW clones. That's crazy to me. So to me, it was clear that, look, obviously I don't want to go fully back to the tech and restriction that comes from 1996 Ultima Line. I obviously know that we're living in a new era of time. The new generation wouldn't pick up Ultima Line, right? Just because of the looks of it. And we learned a lot from the first game, where we also saw new generation, new players didn't want to commit. No, I'm done, with it. And when we identify those things, obviously we want to make sure that, okay, we need to modernize. We need to make sure that Modern Line is acceptable today by everyone that could be interested in this type of game. It will still not completely hold hand you and have question marks over the head, and you just run on autopilot, you don't use your brain, and you don't interact, you don't communicate, because that's part of the unique, cool thing that actually is something everyone enjoy when they get to experience it. And this is the key point. All those millions of WoW players, they don't get to experience this because they don't know it exists. We're seeing players coming from WoW into Modern Line and have this experience, say, holy shit, this is crazy fun. And they get hooked. But if they don't get the chance over the big hurdle to begin with, they don't get to that point, right? But when we saw that a majority of new generation players, I was very pleasantly surprised that so many WoW players actually liked Mortal Line, because that was a meme in the past. Go back to WoW. You won't be able to survive in Mortal Line. And that may be true for a lot of the players, but it was surprising to see so many WoW players just coming in here, enjoying the game and adapting to the game and learning that, okay, this is not all about farming your epic gear, legendary game gear, and then, go to your level and fight those levels. It's more about interaction, player skills, knowledge, explore and experiment, and re-gear when you lost and died. And, that's part of the game session, which it isn't in World of Warcraft, as you know. And we saw that so many enjoy that new, fresh experience. We just had to make it, viable and accessible for all of them when they get to try the game, and fix some of the bugs and issues that we have that also prevent a lot of the enjoyment. And like I said, from all those other games, Valheim, Rust, Tarkov, there's a few more of those that are extremely popular, and they all feel at home very easily in Mortal Online. So when we're ready, open up the gates and starting marketing, we just want to go through all of these possible players out there, which are millions over time, and just steady grow. And you know, we're happy with a decent chunk. We don't need millions of players that World of Warcraft and those giants require to fund their project. For us, a fraction is enough, and a fraction is enough to make the game very exciting for all of us that enjoy the game. I hope that elaborated question or answer covers your question why I'm stuck in the 90s, which I'm not really. You know, you made a very important point. And I'm also, at the same time, I have to be a businessman in terms of this is our living. We need to make a living on this. Obviously, we need to be realistic. Another example is Immortal 1, you got into the game, you tried something, sometimes you got a message, you tried something else, you didn't get a message, and you wonder, is it broken or is it wrong or what's going on? And you have to go online and talk to players to figure it out. That's not very good either. That's also what I mean with we need to modernize the game to make sure that the new players don't have to go on a forum to read about it. They should be able to get feedback and response from the game that, okay, that makes sense. Now I can proceed. So we don't drop them, right? We drop them, you know, as flies in the first game due to these things also. So yeah, absolutely. We are fully aware of that. We need to, you know, step up the game and modernize in the right way without sacrificing the soul and core of the game. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Will Epic Patch include additions to Haven? MO1 had a cool quest type thing where you summon a demon. Yeah, so we heard a lot of feedback from players that are coming from Mortal Online Haven 1 that enjoy that journey more than they do on Mortal Online 2, and we agree. So we absolutely need to improve the Haven experience on Mortal Online 2 to help, again, new players to get them more attracted and feel like there's some goals you can achieve and set up to do if you want to, and adventure and learn a little bit more there in a safe environment and enjoy the game more. And then they can take the step to Mulan. That also will be an improved experience. They will get some proper directions and guidance and be more secure in those starting locations so they can get going and interact and become a Mortal player. So yeah, absolutely. Mortal 1 has some things in Haven that made it better, which we're gonna work on also here in Mortal 2. That's one of the goals, to improve also along with Epic, to make sure the new player experience is improved. All right, guys. Yeah, no doubt Haven can be improved, and we will do as much as we can to make it good. Because, I mean, obviously it's also a good offload when we have a huge influx of new players, having them on multiple Havens instead of going straight to Mirland. That's good, because then they also can take their time and become a real player already there, you know, over certain times of days, hopefully. Have a good adventure there before they are excited to actually do the real deal on Milan. And then we also know when they take that step, they are more committed. They are likely to be a little bit more likely to be a long-term player, and it's worth that influx of network data on Milan. So yeah, we have a lot to benefit from to improve on Haven on the first experience. Morrowind plus Melee DayZ. Yep. Good games. I remember so many times when a lot of people came from Elder Scrolls Online and said Morrowind, when I play Morrowind, this is what that should be. First person, true immersive MMORPG. And yeah, coming from those type of game, Elder Scrolls, Morrowind, Skyrim, you feel some similarities, right? Playing first person, having a huge world to explore, and we're gonna add in a lot more nice things to encounter on Myrland with Epic Games patch. It should be exciting for everyone, including veterans, to explore all over again and see what the game has to offer in various areas, etc. One more PvE content and things dropping off mobs like weapon and armor. Yeah, absolutely. That's something we can expand on a lot as well, refine over time, to make sure there are nice, interesting variation on the loot. Pairs go. Have a good one. I'm already close to 3-hour mark, so I think this is also where I wrap things up, so I don't loop myself too much and bore you out. But it's always nice to hang out, as always. Let's see, shall we do the classic raid today? Let's see, who do we have streaming? We have a few ones. Thank you all, Anuxa. Help me with the raid before we all part from today's stream, guys. Let's do a quick poll. Raid time. Let's see, who do we have? All right, pick some random. Help me vote, guys, and I will raid. Raid Hesla, please. I don't know where his mind is at, but as of late, I told him, look, we can be mature here and we can discuss things and we can kind of try to follow the rules, and we can be very passionate, we can slip things and so on. So until I feel comfortable passing you guys to someone that may be insulting me and bashing me, I don't know, right? I don't keep track of everything, but I've seen some things that doesn't make me very happy, But if that change, why not? That it's up to him, I would say. It's all up to you, how you act, your reputation. Why is there even top streamers on the poll? Rate a new streamer, Jeebus. So I tried to cycle all. Maybe I haven't cycled all currently streaming. It's getting harder to keep track of everyone. And maybe I haven't raided Thor the Titan. Have I raided Talutz? I think so, right? I mean, I tried to rotate it, right? Thor the Titan is quite new, right? It's a cool streamer. I've seen him stream quite regularly. I'm not sure if I raided him. Have I? Have I? Maybe I haven't. Maybe that... Thor is new. He's a good lad. Yeah, I've seen him stream frequently lately. I have not raided Thor, right? So maybe that's the right thing to do. I have raided Avira a few times in the past, and I tried to be passing on the viewers' support to newcomers that, become serious Mortal players. Should we do a Thor today? I hope Avira doesn't get too sad if I change it, because I don't think I've rated Thor the Titan. What do you think, guys? What do you think, Avera TV? What say you all? Help me. Shall we do that? Yeah, I don't think I rated him. And I know. Red new guy. Thank you, Avera. Thank you. All right, let's do that. I think I haven't rated him, and he's a cool lad. I talk to him and jump into his stream every now and then. He liked the game, and he's learning every day. So let's pay him a visit then, and show him some support, and you know, teach him the skills. You know. Let's do it. All right. I want to thank you all for joining in today, and all the usual business, and all your support, your questions, your donations, subscription, all of that. And I will see you soon again. Let's say hello and show Thor the Titan some support. He's an awesome new Mortal player. I've seen him stream a few times, so he needs some support to get into the ropes, you know what I mean? So let's do it, and have a good day and night, and see you soon. Bye-bye.